Welcome to the August 2025 edition of the Tough Love Arena State of the Game stream. I will be your host tonight, and Paul Weeks. And for the next somewhere between 20 and 100 minutes, I will be telling you all about the state of the game. What do you as a Tough Love Arena fan have to look forward to in the future? What have we worked on recently that would interest you? Etc., etc. Also, I will give a brief update at the end about my new fighting game, Scramble Hard City, and we will discuss both freely in the Q&A. So let's just jump into the quick updates. What's new with Tough Love? So, in the past, what did we accomplish in the month of July? We held our quarterly official tournament, the summer tournament in this case. Really great show. Again, can't give enough thanks to our wonderful TOs and Shiggy for running the whole thing. I missed the beginning chunk because I was in transit. I had a pre-existing thing I couldn't move, but it was super fun to hop on comms. It was already running smoothly, and we had a really fun top 8. So I know that the VOD has been a little slow coming out. It is uploaded now. I'm waiting for YouTube to process it to HD, and so it will be going live on the YouTube channel probably like an hour after this stream is over. I just need to go in and add timestamps and the thumbnail. But sick tournament, and just due to EVO and other trips, I'm a little belated in the usual aftercare of uploading the VOD, doling out skins, etc. That kind of stuff. I'm saying a lot of etc. tonight. Great tournament. Moving on. We had some server outages. I can't remember the last time we've had this issue. And it was unique. It was a major outage for Linode, which is a pretty popular web hosting platform. So I tried to keep you all abreast in the Discord server, in the announcements channel. Thank you to the people who DM'd me about the issue. It looks like my normal alerting system was down, so I appreciate that. And all told, matchmaking was down for about 24 hours. But the game was still playable. For those who are curious, we currently host Tough Love Arena across multiple different providers for cost reasons. Some are good at doing one thing or have a particularly nice deal on the other. So technically, the game files, which is all you need to play the game, load it up in your browser and then play it offline, are hosted. I think that's Firebase hosting. The game code is Firebase hosting. The game's image assets are Amazon S3 behind a Cloudflare cache. The matchmaking and the handshaking, so even if you're not doing a matchmaking, if you're trying to directly connect with an ID, all the servers that make that happen and help broker that connection, those were the ones living on Linode. And the account system is, I think that's on Lambda. It's either Google Cloud Functions or it's Amazon's Lambda, but it's a wow, it's been a minute since I've been in web dev world, so I'm blanking on the term serverless. Serverless API, that was up. So hence, if people were confused why you could still log into your account and could still play the game but couldn't play online, that's why. It's in lots of different parts. So very much an out of the ordinary event, not expecting something similar to happen again. Welcome, Kerbo. You're just in time. And then the patch. We had a pretty big patch in July. First big one in a minute. So it was largely the fan request patch, informed by the last couple of State of the Game feedback surveys. So thank you all for responding to those. More gameplay general ones were adding a throw tech lockout to remove some of the option selects where you would, do like a fuzzy timing to block and tech throws. Fixed a bug that someone pointed out about the meter gain penalty that normally exists, only applying to certain ways of gaining meter. And this change, I felt like I needed to try and put in and explain. The funny part is walking currently gains you 3 meter per frame. It's exactly the number 3. And meter has to be a whole number. So when it was halved and rounding up, or just rounding in general, it would go from 3 to 2, and it wasn't actually that noticeable. It was a penalty, but if you're walking mid-combo after an RC, you're still gaining pretty decent meter. It took me a minute to see if it was even working because visually it looked similar. That's why I'm rounding it down. This could be fixed in numerous ways. This is the way I decided to address it because there's no reason it has to round up. That was a fun little thing to figure out. And then I made a bunch of small character changes, increased the cancel window so it's easier to hit confirm off of 5L with these characters. Tried this is a very small increase, but it does make it +1 on hit point blank. But still, that's not a combo, and it's still minus on block. So I'm hopeful that it won't be a compelling tool to harass with. You can't just do it over and over again at point blank because they could just start mashing light, and a lot of characters will just blow up Rice if they're just trying to spam the dive kick. But now the dive kick does or should reward you for spacing it correctly, because if it's +1 on hit at point blank, that means you can probably get up to +7 at range and actually link it into something. Beef's Lemon goes away if Beef is hit. This just makes it consistent with other projectiles and really fixes a small... in most matchups, this would come up as maybe you're jumping in and Beef does a lemon really late and you kind of hit him and land on the lemon. That was weird. But it was particularly brutal for the carb matchups where your plan is to sort of walk forward and whip them. And if Beef could throw lemon and essentially trade with your whip because it would go through, that was very difficult to fight through. So trying this out, I think this will feel a little bit more fair. Lemon RC is still very strong. But yeah, that was that change. Sorry if I'm a little out of it. I'm still jet lagged coming back from EVO. Training. I decided to add more information, if you were curious. Basically, I have this feature in the new game, Scramble Hard City, and when I was back working in Tough Love Arena trying to test some of these changes and debug things, I really missed this feature. I wanted it, so I added it. So we already sometimes displayed a little bit of information in the hitboxes, such that when you were getting juggled, I would tell you how many juggle points are left. And now I'm also including the frame number. So you can see as they're standing idle, or maybe you can't, it's pretty small. I don't know if there's a great way to zoom in. Can I use the... Doesn't Mac have a goofy built-in magnifying glass? What am I thinking of? Or did they remove that at some point? Anyways, can I make... Sorry, we're doing fun ad-libbing real quick. Let's see, capture, unlock. This is a terrible idea. Okay, I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna make things worse. So, it's small, but right now it's counting up the frame number, and in this case you can see it's going from frame 0 to 1, 2, 3, and this should be hopefully a big boon to modders for debugging, because now you can know exactly what frame you're looking at when trying to figure out why isn't this effect happening here, or why isn't the cancel window happening, or how much advantage do I need to give. For example, now you could calculate frame advantage by just looking at this. When Pork recovers, Pork is on frame 0 and Onion's on frame 5. Onion's +5. So just another little tool in the tool belt. And then lastly, fixed this long-standing bug that I didn't realize was there and was honestly pretty strange. I had my normal logic for when two characters pick the same skin when playing online or offline is to note okay, if they match, characters have an ID and a character ID and a skin ID, and if they have the same, then force player 2 to go to the next skin. And the problem was when playing with modded characters, modded characters have their own ID that's automatically generated as a hash of the mod file. So that makes them all unique. But you would get a situation where I'm playing the modded version of Beef called Steve, and you're playing the modded version of Beef called Larry. We're playing Steve versus Larry. Very different characters, very different IDs. But if we both choose the default skin, we look like the same character, and it's visually impossible to track. So I had a system that would compare instead what image are you actually showing, like what skin are you in, because skins are also specific to characters, and if you're in the same skin, change it. And I had it so that it would, the changing is like, okay, find that character and find the next skin in order, or the first skin that doesn't conflict with player 1. It wasn't looking up player 2's character to find the next skin, it was looking up player 1's character in order to change player 2's. So, simple mistake, quick and easy fix. Sorry it took so long. After a quick sip, let's talk about the present. Also, can I just get in our check-in? Our audio level's good? Everything coming through all right? Yep, thanks, Clove. I'm just concerned because this computer has, I've been filling up the hard drive lately, and then that manifests as like applications running out of RAM. And I've had a lot of issues with that, and now I'm recording a VOD. So I tried to clean up a bunch of space beforehand, but yeah, we should be good. But I'm just now really sensitive about that stuff. Present. So these were some of the changes that were requested in previous surveys or that we discussed that I didn't fix or I didn't implement. Some of them because they were just a little bit more complicated and I want to prioritize just getting a few things out. Some of that would be like the case of the soup. I think this is probably a pretty harmless change. It's just going to require some new logic. Some of them have some implications that I'm a little worried about. This was a really interesting one. Make sweep -3 on block. Because how do you make sweep, right now it's -2 for context. How do you make it -3? On block. There's two ways. You could give it one less frame of block stun. So literally the opponent's in block for one less frame. Now it's -3 because they recovered one frame earlier. Or you could give the Spice characters one more frame of recovery. But the same amount of block stun. So now I recover one frame later. The problem with doing it the first way, if I reduce the block stun, is yes, that means if I fully play out the animation, I will now be -3. But you don't always fully play out the animation with sweep. Sometimes you cancel it into dash, or you cancel it into backdash, or you cancel it into hop kick fake. And now those situations are also impacted by one frame. Because whatever gap there was when you did sweep into dash, let's say that left you like -5, I don't know exactly off the top of my head, that would now be -6 because sweep did one less frame of block stun. If you do the second solution of just adding a frame of recovery, then that has the impact of one, that recovery frame is there on whiff as well, so now that move is one frame easier to whiff punish. And two, that means you're affecting the advantage on hit, because recovery also happens on hit, which in order to fix, you would have to add one frame to hit stun, and then you have all the same issues with block stun. Now, hitting with sweep and then dashing through, maybe that becomes a true combo, and you could link into light because you have one more frame of hit stun. So this is not impossible, but there are consequences, and I didn't have time to think through all the consequences. Maybe those are all fine. Maybe that's fine if sweep is -3 and none of those situations meaningfully change, but I just need to vet all of them. And I thought it'd be fun to mention here as a little peek behind the curtain. So, still open to all these, thinking about them, reevaluating them. Cool. And then we'll talk about the future after another drink. So much talking over the weekend. Do you have any idea how dry it is in Las Vegas? My lips were chapped. Like, I've never had that experience outside of winter. And even then, I don't usually get chapped lips. Anyways. I just feel like perennially perennially dehydrated now. Future, what's coming up? So, Anime NYC / Play NYC. Play NYC was an indie game convention that has since been swallowed by Anime NYC, the much larger anime convention, which I think is a good thing, because now we get way more attendees and more time, more days. I will be boothing Scramble there, and hopefully running a tournament on site. We're getting 2 booths, so we can have room for 3 setups and some extra space. And for Tuffle Arena fans, if you want to try a new game, if you want to come meet me, and or if you want some free Tuffle Arena merch, I've got some swag left over from when I used to take Tuffle Arena to conventions, like stickers and buttons, and I don't know how I will ever get rid of them. So I'll bring some along with me, and if you come up to me and you say I play Tuffle Arena, I'll give you a free sticker. This is not in Las Vegas. This is a copy-paste from where I just was. Thank you, Clove. This is in New York City. This is in my backyard. That's the whole reason I'm going. Thank you. Yes. This is in New York. If you're local, it's a cool convention. If you're into anime, or honestly just like nerd stuff in general, there's a lot to do. I'd recommend it. Upcoming dev work, continuing to maybe test or reevaluate some of those balance changes we talked about a minute ago, and continuing to make progress on secret project. More info coming soon. I know I've been saying that for a few months. Secret project is making very exciting and promising progress, but I don't think I'm gonna share much until it's basically done, because it's a secret. So stay tuned. What's up, Smuckers? What's up with you? Anime I've seen Vegas, yeah. Cool. Let's take a quick look at the survey. Now, due to my exhaustion and general kind of sore-throatedness, I'm going to skim through these maybe a little faster than usual. But let's just quickly validate with our 8 respondees. It's fun, it's easy, it's slightly above average depth. Gonna play again, gonna recommend. Noodle is strong and fun. Note about slab anti-air. I don't want it to like fully shut off the air for all of that time. I thought that would be maybe too strong. So you do have to time it. That is the intention. You could disagree with the intention, but that is the intention. Trample frame trap is an unskilled starter that leads into Noodle RPS when blocked. Although Noodle is already able to frame trap with 5L into 5L, 5L into trample is not choppable, whereas 5L into 5L is. That is an interesting distinction. This is I didn't think that it introduced any new frame traps that were meaningful because you were already plus, but in terms of chop, that makes sense. Poor pork. I'd be more tempted to make this as a, I don't know, port change? Frame 1 chop armor? Question mark? Rice is not strong. Dang. But is fun. More damage. Seems kind of weak. Would like to see a teleport rework. Too much of a knowledge check win button against lower level players and is next to useless against experienced players. That's a fair criticism. I could see how the gimmicky part feels very overwhelming to a new player. I mean, that's kind of how you could describe Garlic's sneak the same way. But maybe Sneak doesn't have as obvious counterplay. Maybe Rice teleports are much easier to react to. But this will make me think. This is a good question. It's in my notes. Please refer to do something about SWAT ? Beef is strong. Beef is fun. Decrease scaling on lemon combos. Awesome character. I don't think he needs buffs yet. No nerfs. Pork is strong. Pork is fun. Also awesome. Onion is strong. Onion is fun. Increase the startup range or raise the hurt box shifting on long jump. This is a buff, so I assume they mean lower the startup, right? Make it faster? Or would they do they want it to be slower for better, like, messing with parries? I could take a second look at the range. I think we already adjusted the hurt box to get rid of, like, the really weird stuff. This is definitely, like, one of the more tame jump cancels. But noted. Thank you. Garlic is strong. Garlic is fun. Rework / increase the effectiveness of jump cancel. I just feel like its use cases are far too limited in its current state, at least compared to the rest of the cast. It is definitely narrow. I do like it as the... It feels appropriate as the mental stack character. But it is definitely narrow. Your IP address, please ask. It says, I wonder how Paul would react to the extended hurt boxes mod I made. That sounds ominous. TLA appealed with its ease of access as a browser game. The fact that it was free. Modding. Not sure why you're laughing your butt off. Simplicity. Wonderful. All good to hear. What keeps you playing? Community and tournaments. Even though I never participated in one. Continues to laugh on the floor. And friends. Upcoming event. Not sure what's in store. Round horsing. Content ? Attorneys. And two... what? Interesting. Have you shared it? I beat up my friend. That's the usual one. Some of the concepts intrinsic to FGs are hard to explain, like shimmy, but it went very well. Any other thoughts? Doing great. Very nice things. Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Thank you. Scramble Art City update. Brief one. We were just at EVO. This is a photo of our 43-person bracket. It was hype. There was a lot of people. We had to run single limb so it could end in a reasonable amount of time. It was brutal. But it went well. Here's a a cameo of famed Tough Love Arena player Handsome Phil, who you, funnily enough, can't see in this photo. But yeah, sick bracket. We just uploaded the VODs to the YouTube. I think we're gonna announce them tomorrow. Kevin, you mean Star Pop? I'm not acknowledging that comment. Really sick event. Got to meet a lot of cool people. EVO was good to us. They were very long days. It was, the official hours were 8:30 to 10 p.m. 8:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. So I was usually waking up at 7, so I'd have time to shower, eat breakfast, get over to the venue, have a little bit of time before doors open, be in the venue for 13 and a half hours, get back to my hotel room, get 6 to 7 hours of sleep. It was rough. It was a very good event, but I'm pretty dead. We also had our first online playtest since last year. We finally resolved enough of the stability issues. It's not perfect, and we're still making improvements, but we got it good enough to run on Windows machines with medium graphics. And aside from some big crashes that were due to a logic bug that I was able to fix on the first day, I think people had a pretty stable and good time playing the game. Also, did this not update? Oh, my screen capture. 1 second. I'm glad I caught it. There we go. All right. Yeah, cool. So, first online playtest in a while. It went great. We're going to have another one August 15th, which is in 10 days. We attended EVO, having a big bracket. We're almost done cleaning up Gaines art, if you watch some of the EVO footage that we're putting up. And we've started on Book. And we've been trying out new specials for Alistar, Book, and Harmony. Their main kits are all locked down. I really like their normals and their general game plan. but all of them had like one or two special moves that I felt didn't carry as much as the other ones. And I want in a game with limited moves and simple inputs, I want every special move to feel special. Even if it's an arrow, even if it's a sometimes food, it should feel special and compelling. So I'm actually really confident with Alistair's new direction. Alistair might be done. Book, the new ground special is maybe too strong, and the new air special is maybe too weak. But I really like the idea on both, so hopefully those we can just tune a bit. And Harmony is kind of a mixed bag. Her crouching special is locked in. I love her back special, but it creates some pretty toxic frame trap loops. I like her forward special, but I'm not sure if it matches her game plan. I tentatively like her new air special, but it just needs more playtesting. I kept forgetting to use it when I had a chance to play the game. But again, I think her normals and her flight and her few key defining specials and supers are really good and definitely working. Supers are also mostly in a good place. We changed Gain's air super. I really like the new version. I think that was back before CEO. I think we changed it in between Combo Breaker and CEO. So we've had that for like a month or two, and that's here to stay. Harmony's ground super, I'm gonna probably change what it does in terms of the buff it provides, but the idea of the buff and taking you to hell and the new landscape that Mike drew for us, I'm very happy with. Alistair supers are all good. We're probably going to change the animation on one of them because it's just reusing normals. Like, all the supers are reusing a lot of animation, so we'll change that stuff. But the function of Alistair's are good. The function of Rosie's are good. Book's down super's going to change. I got tired of blocking that shit. No, part of why I wanted to buff his forward special to give him Oki is so that I could take away his super that gave Oki, which gave very strong Oki, and instead give him just strong Oki all the time instead of oppressive Oki when you have meter. Because yeah, that was rough. And no, I want to be clear. I'm not just because I lost to it. It's a very feast or famine super for being an install. It's absolutely useless unless you have a hard knockdown already. And I just don't think it leads to super interesting gameplay, and I think we could put something a lot more interesting there. But I still like his pillars, and I still like his icicle. I hear you, Kerbo, but hopefully you'll think the new super is even cooler if I can figure out how to implement it. But we can talk about all that later in the Q&A, which is right now. It's Q&A time. So let me take another sip as I transition over to a bigger version of my newly hairless face and this shirt that is apparently way too big for me. And starting now, I will go through chat and be happy to answer questions until we either run out of questions or 20 minutes have passed, because I'm going to have to keep it short tonight and go to sleep. If you asked a question earlier or you made a joke and you want to get a response, please just post it again because I'm not going to scroll up. Starting off, your IP address asks, have you played Nen Impact? No, but I want to. I think it is my duty to do research, and I want to play Nen Impact. I just haven't felt like I had the time. So that's a good reminder. I should make the time. Things are slowing down. We've got a couple events still coming up. I'm flying out to see family in like 2 days. But maybe when I get back next week, I would love to get an Impact. Maybe we could do a stream and I could play against chat and you could random me out with fish. Because I haven't even played the game yet. But I want to play these games because I'm a fan of fighting games, and I think it's my job to play them for research. And I've watched a ton of it. No, I'll buy it. I'm happy to support other fighting game developers. Add to my collection. The biggest challenge is I don't have a working Windows gaming PC, so I always have to get this stuff for PlayStation. Yeah, Nin Impact. This wasn't your question, but just on that note, when I was at EVO, I really wanted to try Invincible and Tokon, but I just didn't have time. Those lines would like instantly get super long, and I had to be working my booth for 13 and a half hours every day. And I kept trying to get in early so I could like swing by the booth when it opened. I did do that for 2x KO on the second day, and I got to play like a very nice first to 10 with 3 friends. We won 10-1, so my Darius is sick. But then like Friday morning I think I was like fixing things, and Sunday morning I was fixing things, and I just didn't have a chance to try Invincible or Tokon. But I'd love to when I get a chance. Kevin asks, Paul, can you make garlic jump cancel turn around when my opponent crosses me up? So you're garlic, you're doing the jump cancel. At the same time you're doing the jump cancel, they either like dashed through his garlic or did like a rice teleport, and then you're not auto-correcting? Is that what you mean? You want to auto-correct after the jump cancel teleport to the ground? If that's the case, I think I'd be down to do that. But please clarify for me, Kevin. Yes, I want autocorrect. Cool. Let me add it to the change list real quick. Garlic autocorrect on jump cancel. It is in my notes. Okay. Kerbo asks, for Scramble Heart, do you call the special button S or D? I've been calling it D, but I don't really know. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people in Discord refer to the game with LMHS. I specifically tried to move away from LMHS syntax so that we could use S for super. So my preferred nomenclature is ABCD, where D is your special button, S is super, T would be throw, D would be dash, at least I guess referring to the macros, and then like A1, A2 for assist buttons. But I firmly believe that this is something that the community ultimately decides on. That is my intent, but if everyone agrees that the word of God is wrong and it should actually be LMHS, I'll listen and I'll change it. It was LMHS for like the first year. Our handouts used to say that, but we changed it. Actually, do I have them? I think they're right here. Yeah. Okay. I've also been thinking about this. You can let me know, chat, if this would be like a fun little thing to give away. Because every time we make new handouts, the old ones are essentially trash. And I keep them, but they're just sitting in a box. So they could be a cute little, souvenir for someone if they're a super fan. But this was the first handout, the first real handout. I had some really crappy looking ones, like at our first convention. But our first nice looking handout, you'll see, actually this is a better one. We used LMHS in these colors. And then I had Super redesign it to say ABCD with some brighter colors. And a lowercase A1, A2 to not be as confusing with the A button. It's not perfect, but I do prefer this. And these are also trash because there's like a typo on them somewhere. So, and they weren't thick enough. You could kind of see through them. So now I got all these. Anyways. Smuckers asks, are there any more major content updates planned for TLA, or is most of the focus going to be on SHC from here on out? The focus has been on Scramble Heart for a year or two. I've put in time for stuff like the April Fool's events, and I'm glad I was able to put in time to get out that little balance patch recently. And there's Secret Project, but outside of Secret Project, no. It's very much in maintenance for me. I want to find time to make sure we can get our core functionality done that I want to see so that we can take it out of early access. And then I'm happy to continue maintaining it and still checking in with the community and making small balance changes or whatever. But it will. I want to be able to say clearly, like, active development is over. But that's not the case yet. So we still do monthly State of the Game streams. But I'll put it this way. My goal is before the end of this year to switch from doing monthly Tough Love Arena streams to doing monthly Scramble Heart streams. It's just a matter of, is that going to be September or December? We shall see. Clove asks, how much of the SHC UI is final? Nothing is final. We've already redrawn and redesigned a bunch of stuff. Oh, my cat is sitting on the handouts I just set down. Oh. What was I saying? I do really like the current version of the health bars. Those have been through a few revisions, but I like how those look and the little portraits and assist icons. We've been talking about the meter. Right now it's 5 discrete little bars. I'm not sure if I want to move back to like one big bar and a number, or even maybe keeping small bars but adding a number. But we've gotten that complaint about like clarity of how much resource you have. But I'm pretty happy with the core HUD, and the combo counters and stuff are like what I generally want them to be. And I like the character select, although I don't know how it will scale if and when we add more characters. So it might need some tweaking. But I like being able to like preview the assist and see your whole team at once. So I think Soup did a great job. But we've, I thought the UI was great 6 months ago, and then we changed a bunch. So nothing is final. Meep asked, did Sejam stop by the booth, Paul? He did not. But I was not in any way surprised or disappointed. I know that Sejam is a very busy boy. For context, Sejam gave us a shout out in his pre-EVO stream, saying that he had heard from a bunch of other fighting game devs that the indie game called Scramble Heart City was gas, I believe is the term. I think he said the word gas like 8 times. It was gas. It got gassed. People were gassing up. It's very gassed up. And that was very, very generous. And me and everyone else at the team were very excited to hear that. Not just, him saying the praise, but the fact that he's saying this because other people were going out of their way to tell him is really cool. So he did not stop by. There were a couple of, I won't name them out loud, but there were a couple of top players that I saw walking around that I wanted to try and steal or ask to come play, and either I didn't have a chance or they, weren't interested. They're like, oh yeah, maybe later, and they never did. So I'm not going to name their names. Again, I don't blame them. It's a very busy weekend for everyone. But we had some cool people stop by. We had some people record some footage. I also don't want to say that yet because this has happened in the past and the footage never came out, or they edited it out or something. So maybe something will come out. Maybe we'll talk about it then. It was good. It was good. We got to meet some cool people. I'll leave it at that. IP address asks, I would like Mystery Meat buffs in general. Why does Jump not have Startup Throw-In-Vol? Don't worry, Mystery Meat and Secret Spice are going to get revamped. I think I just want to change even maybe some of their core ideas. So I can't give you an ETA on that, but that is something I would like to do before the end of the year. Let me put it that way. Soup being our UI artist, clarifies that yes, little to none of the UI is final, open to feedback, and Video Soup is apologizing for the typo in the hand up. No problem at all. We had 3 chances for me to catch that, and it was a very small one, so it's no issue. Those things are cheap to print. Yes, he was very busy. Clove says, not a question, but a comment. The dynamic stages are so cool, like the way the bench jumps up and down and the billboard says, ouch. Thank you. Yes. Right now we're kind of playing around with it, and every stage is a little bit different, just because I'm not sure that there's one thing I want to lock into that would make sense in every setting and context. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with the billboards on the train station stages. We've got the few. There's other things that we want to have impacted on the rooftop stage. And we haven't. We were just today talking about this new stage we're working on, and a potential like anytime a character gets like a hard knockdown, putting a dent in the floor kind of thing. That would make sense for this stage, but maybe not for a giant girder in the train stage. So yeah, no, I think it's important. We already got the parallax, which I'm super jazzed about. The original plan was for all the stages to have more limited animation, but it kind of didn't really come up in the comp, or the ideas I originally had I ended up removing because I didn't like them. It's still there in some elements, like some of the billboards flicker even when you're not doing anything. The night rooftop has like blinking red lights on top of the buildings. I still think maybe there's areas where we could do a little more there. But we also, it's the big problem with animating the stages is those are some big textures, and we want to be very careful with our memory usage. I've become hyper aware of textures taking up a lot of space and VRAM being a very precious resource. So I've had to nix a lot of really cool ideas that Mike has had for the stages because they wouldn't pack well, because they would just take too much space. So we're limited in that factor, but having little standalone elements that move dynamically is very cheap. The billboards are small, relatively. I'm reading ahead a little bit, but yeah, the old beach stage, which is now completely gone, in part because I was a different background artist, so it would have been a different visual style. She did a great job, Christina, but Mike came in, and after doing that one, we learned a lot about the process, the downsides to having like all of the water be animated. Also, it got us to like rethink like what's our vanishing point, where's the horizon, all this stuff. So the beach stage now only exists in really old footage and screen caps. But that was one of the many problems with it structurally. Some speculation that I won't comment on. IP address asks, how do you think a boss character legal tournament would go right now? I think we had one at some point. I assume Secret Spice is trash. Mystery Meat might have some value just because he two touches. Like, he sucks in so many ways, but he has an unblockable and he two touches. So maybe he's really strong. If you're not playing against the CPU and you can just lay him out with lemons, maybe he's like dumb because he just punches you from full screen and you die. And I would assume that Boss Rice is slightly stronger than the current cast. I don't remember everything about them right now, but that's my intuition. Kevin says too many moving stuff in the background can be distracting though. Maybe saying turn it off. That's also an option. I would be fine servicing that option. Thankfully, a lot of this stuff right now, it kind of coincides with hit stop, which is already and screen shake, which is on by default, but you can disable it. And for the elements that we're already drawing there in a fixed position, and then sometimes we move them, or the billboards that we tell them to change, that stuff would be very easy to disable with the setting. Glove says, if you have insight about how to design fighting game stages visually, that'd be cool. It's kind of hard to make something interesting while also having a big open level space for fighting and a normalish perspective. I mean, I can't say I've got it figured out in any way. It very much feels like a work in progress. But patterns that have emerged that we've liked have been stuff like, get an opinionated color palette that can help the stages feel different. They could be very similar visually, but just changing the color palette makes a world of difference. Try to have enough noise or unique elements throughout the stage. Stuff like the vending machine, even if it didn't move, that just help work as like passive signposts, so you have a sense of where you are. It's again not something that you'll be super actively processing, but if you just know like, oh, I see the bench, that means I'm close to right corner. Our void stage, which is just like the dark garden, is much more subtle about that, maybe too subtle, but it has differing shapes. Like the bushes kind of do this a little bit, so you can sense as they're getting taller and taller that you're approaching the corner. I think that's important for like the texture of the stage. But in terms of like filling the sky and making it feel interesting, I have no idea. Amy just did some like wild ass illustrations for Tough Love Arena, and we put them in the location, and that worked. But I also know the last stage we did, Apartment, which is my favorite stage with my favorite song, took them a very long time because there's lots of little details in there. So, yeah, be careful about adding too much detail. Oh, another important thing we do on all the new stages, or Scramble Hard stages, is there's no black lines. Things have lines. Let me see if there's an easy way for me to show this. Let me see if I can find it, and then I'll swap screen. I could show you the stage preview, maybe? Let's see if I go... I know this is super entertaining. Okay, let me switch over. Oh, and my screen capture broke again. 1 second. Screen capture restart. Okay. So if we go into stages, something like rooftop day, thumbnail, you'll see there's line work, but they're all non-black. They're navy blue, or they're green, or there's some other color that makes sense where you get the contrast. It still feels like an outline. It's not, lineless, like Samurai Jack or anything. But but the characters have thick black lines, and that helps the characters stand out on top of the stage. That I think is super important. I think the TLA characters stood out by default because they're big solid blocks of color. Even as we add little bits to them, like that really help the big solid thing, or maybe a really noisy texture like the gross April Fool's skins helps them stand out plenty. But in something like this, where the characters are detailed and the background is detailed, the simple rule of like basically no pure blacks in the backgrounds, but pure blacks in the characters does a lot to separate them. Let's look at a different stage. State. Yep, similar thing. There's some darker lines, but they're still not black. Even void. Again, yeah. Like these bushes don't have lines in between them. These are bordering on black, but these are also like far away from where the characters will be. The characters are down here. So, yeah. No, not at all, Clove. So, I wanted my game to... It is designed for 1080p resolution. So, at maximum zoom out, like how big is your stage? Tough Love Arena doesn't have zoom, but Scramble Heart does. And in maximum zoom out, that's about 2K pixels wide. Or I should say, my brain. If you're maximum zoomed out, you're going to see as much of the stage as you can. And if you're on a 1080 screen, that's about 2K wide. And these stages right now in Scramble Heart are 2 full screens. Which is to say, if you walked all the way to the left corner, this moon would be like halfway off the screen. If the moon is stuck in this, if it were stuck in the center right now, it's plastered to the sky. But as a reference point, like all the way from corner to center stage is 1 full screen, and all the way from corner to the from center to the other corner is 1 full screen. So it's 2 screens wide. Therefore, all of our stages are about 4K wide. They're a little bit more due to some finicking I do with the zooming, and I needed the ability, because I needed, with the way Screen Shake works, I needed to also have some extras on the side. Originally, like the stages would, go like this, and you'd see black lines appear because the stage, if you were in the corner, you ran out of stage. So they have a little bit of buffer too, but they're a little over 4K wide, and then they're just as tall as they need to be. These are all the thumbnails. So these are just 1080 images that we made specially that are comped as a single image. But if you look at the pieces of Void, like this is the ground layer. It's just as tall as it needs to be. But the width is the important part. The part that gets hard, and I still mess this up all the time, is thinking about parallax. Because, so this is a better example. Rooftop, the main platform, this is 1-to-1 with the characters. This has to be the size of the stage. So this is 4K wide. Is there a way to tell in this UI how wide it is? Is that like the AI icon? This is 4K wide. You'll just have to trust me. The sky never moves. It is always exactly the same. So this is exactly 1080 because it's just the screen. This is our base layer. It never moves. But then stuff in between, stuff that moves but doesn't move as fast as the characters, is going to be anywhere between 1980 wide and 4K wide. Like the first layer of buildings. Again, is there an easy way to tell how big this is? This is my super sick Mac image skills. This is about 3K wide. So sky is 2K, foreground is 4K, this background is 3K. Because when I'm all the way on the left side of the screen, I see this. And when I'm all the way on the right side of the screen, I see this. But it moves slower than the foreground. And like getting that math right and getting that feel right is still something I mess up, and is still like an iterative process. I think it looks good for this stage, but I'm doing something wrong with the Void stage. Something's off about my math. And this is because I don't have a camera. Because I don't have an engine, and I wrote all this stuff myself because I'm an idiot. I don't have an actual camera that I'm just moving. It's more, I invented the brain of a camera that determines, okay, where do you exist in the theoretical thing if it was all drawn out? And then how much do I shift you around based on the current position of the screen? And sometimes I mess up that shifting math. Anyways, don't listen to me. I'm a fool. That was a long enough tangent. Let me just scroll up on chat, see if I missed anything. Smuckers, I'm curious. You asked a minute ago, what do you think about the balance of the game? Do you perceive any characters as strong or weaker? Are you talking about Tough Love or Scramble Heart? Please clarify. I guess I could answer for both. And IP address asked, what was the motive behind making Lemon slow for a fireball and startup? Yes. My idea was I wanted someone to have a fireball. I want Beef to have a fireball. Beef is Ryu. People are like, oh, he's the bruiser. He's supposed to be the default. But he's the biggest, so it's confusing. I want to put a fireball in this game. But jumping is weird. We don't have up. You can't neutral jump. So jumping is very committal. And it's a button press. It's not as easy as just quickly flicking a joystick. So I determined that the fireball couldn't be fast, basically. It can't be fast. It should be very easy to react to at long range. At mid range, sure, you could get like caught by it. But it needed to travel and or start up slowly. The total time for it to travel full screen needed to be on the longer side to make sure it was very reactable, and if you were full screen, you could definitely jump it. You have time to react and go around it. That's the thing. If you're full screen in a Street Fighter game and Ryu throws a Hadouken, it's not a threat at all. It's really when you're in that awkward space where you're in jumping range, where it's further away than any of your normals can reach, and it's a little too fast to maybe react to. Or you could easily like catch you because you're trying to walk forward or trying to press a button. But then you're in jumping range. That's risky. So the whole thing had to be relatively slow. But then I didn't want it to be Guile's Fireball. I didn't want it to be this thing that just like controls a lot of space forever. So it had to be fast enough that he couldn't walk behind it, without spending meter. That was sort of like a happy accident. All this stuff was before the rapid cancels were even added. Before that was even a mechanic, I just knew that was sort of the speed and the recovery I wanted to get that Ryu feeling of, not a threat full screen, difficult to navigate mid close up or like middle close, and you have the jump game, the jump guess. But if you jump on reaction, then he could still anti-air. It's not that slow, but he couldn't walk behind it because that's a whole different thing. That doesn't feel as much like a zoning fireball. It's an approach tool. So that's how I sort of iteratively got to where it is right now. I wanted that game feel. I wanted it to control space, but not be free neutral, and be reactable, but not like trivial to punish. And I'm pretty happy with where it wound up. What do I think about the balance of the game for Tell Arena? I think it's in a pretty good spot. I agree that Rice is weaker than they've been, and part of that is the swap problem. And quick port got worse as better players, got used to it and figured it out for sure. I think Rice is probably on the weaker side. I think Pork is probably on the weaker side for just having the worst reversal, and arguably worst with backflip. One of the worst reversals, and with Caber being kind of intentionally nerfed over time, or just it's different now than it used to be. So my rough tier list based on just theory crafting and the summer tournament that I watched would be that, beef, noodle, onion, and garlic are still on the stronger end. Pork and rice are on the slightly weaker end. It's been interesting to watch. I feel my perspective is that the community now places garlic higher than onion, when garlic used to just forever live in onion's shadow. And I wonder if that's a nerf that I made to onion that I've forgotten, or just people getting more and more comfortable with garlic and being better at exploiting their strengths. And or maybe onion getting a little too linear and people getting used to playing around hopkick. But they're both solid. So that's roughly where I'd place them, but I also don't think any of them are in a hazardous place. And I think any of them could win. That's true. All that balance evaluation is pre the patch I shipped like a week ago. I haven't had time to watch any matches since then, or really sit on it. I felt when making the changes that they were meaningful but not matchup ruining. That's part of why I hesitated on the -3 change, because what if the implications it has on dash or on hopkick are matchup ruining? I just I have to think about it more. But a lot of the changes I made in the patch a week ago were just, pretty simple. I think that their scope or their potential collateral was well contained. I'm actually drafting a talk that I'm going to be presenting at Anime NYC, a panel that I'm giving in, I guess, 2.5 weeks, about how to balance fighting games. And I'm specifically going to talk about how you have these different tools. There's lots of numbers you can change in fighting games to make something stronger or weaker, or to create a different effect. But some of them are very easy to predict what will happen after you change, and some of them are very hard to predict what will happen after you change, or have more collateral, have compounding effects. Hence why I over-explained the sweep -3 change about 40 minutes ago, because that's sort of where my head is at. And one of the examples I'm going to use is the first time I changed Garlic's frame advantage on their sweep, which is why they have, like, when they cancel from sweep into dash, it's not the same as they're canceling into dash from neutral. That's why. It used to be the same, but it had a weird... I wanted to adjust the frame advantage in that situation without changing dash in neutral, and they had to become two different moves. Smunker says, I think Rice actually got quite a bit better. I think it's a combination of people exploring more of the strength in Garlic's freeform mix and Onion not really being changed in quite some time. True. And the hop kick scaling. Rice AF25 was an incident. Oh yeah, we don't talk about AF characters. Cool. I think I'll call it there. I'm really feeling the loss of my voice. It's getting kind of painful to talk. So, just to recap. Thanks for the stream, Meep. Yeah, Meep, my pleasure. Thank you for coming and hanging out. Scramble Hearts got a lot of stuff going on. It's been super exciting. If you want to try the game or if you want to play it again, we're having our next playtest on August 15th. Just be in the Discord. You can find it anywhere I post things. I don't know. Someone in chat can tell you. I'm doing a great job of advertising it. Just go to scrambleheart.city or scrambleheartcity.com. That reminds me, I got to reach out to Gecko Squirrel. I hope they weren't at EVO and I missed them. And we'll be at Anime NYC, Play NYC. That's in NYC and not in Las Vegas. What a concept. And we'll do a bracket and we'll probably give away another personalized stick or something. And that's it. I'm very excited about Secret Project. We'll see how that comes along. And I hope y'all liked the little patch I pushed. It was fun to go deep on Tough Love Arena for the first time in a few months. Yeah, but I wanted to do it in part because I felt bad doing these streams every month and saying the same stuff. Y'all are engaged, and I wanna earn that engagement. I wanna earn that passion. I want to do what I can to serve y'all. So that's maybe a weird way of putting it. Serve is a strong word, but I never take it for granted. And so I know that our time on Tough Love is coming to a close because I'm just moving on to other stuff, hopefully bigger stuff, hopefully better stuff. No shade on Tough Love, but I've made one more video game now than I did when I was making Tough Love. I'm one game wiser. Not to mention 5 years older or whatever. So it's been super exciting. It's been a lot of work and it's been very exhausting, but it's been very exciting. And I'm grateful for all of you joining me on the journey. And if you're not, I'm grateful for the journey we had. So, not over yet. We still gotta hump this thing over the finish line and get out early access. But, yeah, it's my pleasure to do these streams. I'll get that VOD up for the tournament tonight. This will probably go up tomorrow. and I'll see you all next time. Peace.